Welcome. In this presentation, I am going to cover the importance of good nutrition and sleep on postpartum healing, and I will do an overview of the hormonal shifts that occur in the postpartum period. While you do need significantly more calories during the postpartum period than you did while you were pregnant, it's important to be mindful of the nutritional properties of the calories you are consuming. We often get the best nutritional bang for our buck from whole foods. When I say whole foods, I am not referring to the market, but rather I'm talking about foods that have just one ingredient, like an apple. These foods are easily digested by the body, and the nutrients in them are absorbed more fully than foods with a long list of processed or synthetic ingredients. These nutrients are vital to replenishing those that we lose during pregnancy, as well as supporting healthy healing postpartum. In the Learn More section, I've included a link to an article written by Carrie Jones from Milestones Nutrition, which goes into more detail on the specific nutrients needed during this time. It is also generally recommended to finish your prenatal vitamins if you have any leftovers, then switch to a women's multi or postpartum vitamin. Hydration is so crucial to our health, and it's something that most of us fall short on. I know I did. When I finally did the calculation, I was shocked at how much water I needed to consume. For me, it was 3 large 1 liter water bottles per day. Once I made this a goal and a priority and put it into action, it wasn't as daunting as it seemed, and I could really tell an improvement in my overall well being. Fiber is also so essential in so many ways. One of the most fascinating ways it impacts our well being is through supporting a healthy gut microbiome, which research now shows actually has a big impact on our mood. Did you know that 95% of your serotonin is produced in your gut? Pretty amazing. Breastfeeding requires an additional 500 to 700 calories per day on average, while pregnancy requires just 300 extra calories. If you also take into account all the calories you are burning while caring for a newborn and healing from birth, you can see how the caloric needs start to add up even if you're not breastfeeding. Let's pause here as I climb up on my anti bounce back soapbox. I understand that you may be unhappy with certain aspects of how your body looks and feels after baby, and that's normal. So instead of preaching body positivity to you, I invite you to try to shift to a mindset of body neutrality, accepting your body for both the good and the not so good, rather than judging. Try to allow yourself to be with it in the present moment, rather than striving to bounce back to your previous self. Bounce back culture can actually set back your healing and adjustment in so many ways. Firstly, we just discussed how important it is to get extra calories in the postpartum period. And this is true whether you're breastfeeding or not. Your body needs to replenish all the nutrients that were depleted during pregnancy and childbirth. If you are intentionally restricting calories, your body can enter starvation mode, whereby it believes that resources are scarce, and therefore it actually slows your metabolism and holds on to more of our reserves, thereby resisting the weight loss that was originally intended. Secondly, it's a myth that breastfeeding will make the pregnancy weight just drop off for every woman. This may be true for some, but is not a universal fact. This is because prolactin, the lactation hormone, slows our metabolism in order to hold on to our precious nutrients reserves so that we have enough for the baby and ourselves. Thirdly, when you're not meeting your body's nutritional requirements, you impede your body's natural attempts at rebalancing your hormones, thereby prolonging low levels of estrogen and progesterone, which again results in slowed metabolism. I'm not trying to say you'll never lose the weight or that weight loss can't be a healthy goal. I just want to emphasize how important it is not to rush the process. And the best way to boost your metabolism and support your body's natural weight loss is by focusing on getting adequate nutrition. Okay, I'll climb off my soapbox, and now let's shift the focus from nutrition to sleep and rest. This can also be a prickly topic in the postpartum period because babies and sleep often don't jive. However, although you might not be able to greatly improve the amount of sleep you're getting, for most of us, there are at least a couple steps we can take to improve the quality of the sleep we are getting. The first suggestion is to support the circadian rhythm by getting out in natural light first thing in the morning and in the late afternoon hours. Being outdoors during these two time frames will support your internal clock as well as help your infant adjust their circadian rhythms to life outside the womb. Secondly, if you have the support, taking shifts at night so you can get at least a 4 hour chunk of uninterrupted sleep is ideal, as this allows you to complete a full sleep cycle. Moving on to screens. Many of you will have heard that the light emitted from our screens interrupts our circadian rhythms. I have found mixed research regarding the exact extent of the impact that the blue light has. However, one thing that does stand out as having strong supporting evidence is that the content of what is on our screens is going to have an impact on our ability to rest. If you see something disturbing or unsettling, or content that makes you feel anxious, self conscious, or insecure, then it makes sense that you're going to have a hard time quieting your thoughts enough to find rest. So be mindful of this if you are planning to watch something before bed or scroll social media. Next, try to make your sleep environment as conducive to rest as possible. While you're ordering those blackout curtains for the nursery, maybe go ahead and add a second set to the cart for your own room. Just know that blackout curtains can only improve sleep if they are truly effective. Mine weren't quite doing the trick, so I actually taped cardboard boxes behind them to achieve 100% darkness, and immediately I saw an improvement. Also, note that the lighting you're using for night feeding should be as minimal as possible, and lamps are preferred to overhead light, as you can light a smaller area and have less of an impact on your circadian rhythm. If possible, try and consolidate all the supplies you might need during the night before heading to bed to minimize trips to other rooms or up and down the stairs. Lastly, try and keeping a notebook by your bed to jot down any thoughts that are keeping you up so that you can let them go until the morning. I suggest a good old fashioned paper notebook rather than your phone notes to avoid what I call the distraction dominoes effect, whereby you open the phone to make a quick note, but then while it's open, maybe I want to look something up, or now I see that there's a text that I need to respond to real quick, and next thing you know, I'm checking email at 10 p.m. You can see how our devices can quickly consume much more of our attention than we intend to give them. Personally, I always found that the sleep when the baby sleeps advice was not that feasible. I don't know about you, but I just don't have the power to tell my mind, okay, sleep now, and then it happens instantaneously. The pressure to fall asleep before the baby woke up squashed any chance of sleep actually happening. However, I could usually rest while the baby slept, but first I had to allow myself to stop focusing on constantly being productive. This was certainly easier said than done. Sure, there were always a couple of things that had to get done, but I often found myself doing much more than the bare necessities. As I reflect back, it seems to me that I couldn't allow myself to rest, partially because I had ingrained cultural beliefs that busyness and productivity is equated with value. This is how I operated before the baby, and now that baby arrived, stillness felt way too foreign to be relaxing in any way. But rest is truly valuable, and especially now during this time of healing, bonding, and adjustment. Lack of sleep has been proven to be a contributing factor to perinatal anxiety and mood disorders. We don't gain anything by refusing to accept rest and periods of breaks when it is available to us. There is no tiredness trophy awaiting you. Just because you can do it all doesn't mean that you should. Taking a break doesn't mean you're a bad mom, that you're lazy, that you're abandoning your responsibilities, that you're not cut out for this, or that you don't love your baby. You don't need to deserve rest by doing enough, and you don't need anyone's permission. Rest is essential, and everyone has an inherent right to it. You can choose rest because that's what your body is asking for at the current moment. No other justification needed. All right, so assuming I didn't just put you to sleep with my long monologue about the value of rest, let's talk about the hormonal shifts that occur in the postpartum period. As you can see from this graph is quite the roller coaster. The magnitude of the drop in progesterone levels that occurs just after giving birth is equivalent to taking 100 birth control pills per day during pregnancy, then rapidly scaling back to none by day 3 postpartum. That is the largest hormone shift in the shortest amount of time in any human life cycle. So it's no wonder why new mothers often find this time feels quite intense. Furthermore, during pregnancy, our brains convert progesterone to a mood boosting hormone called allopregnanolone. So, as our progesterone rapidly drops after birth, so does this happy hormone that our brain was producing, which is why so many birthing parents experience baby blues. Meanwhile, as estrogen drops, it contributes to some of the other common postpartum symptoms, such as trouble concentrating, moodiness, irritability, hot flashes, and night sweats. Oxytocin levels rise at the time of birth and continue to rise intermittently during the postpartum period to cause the uterus to contract and prevent postpartum bleeding. The rise in oxytocin levels also triggers the release of the hormone prolactin, which is the hormone associated with breastfeeding. As you can see, these shifts are really quite profound. So please show yourself compassion here and be patient with yourself as your body adjusts. Another hormonal system that is impacted in the postpartum period, but not often discussed, is the thyroid gland, which plays a major role in the regulation of metabolism. Postpartum thyroiditis is when your thyroid becomes inflamed after childbirth. It has three phases that it generally passes through: overactive, underactive, and then for most it will recalibrate to normal around the 1 year postpartum mark. But for some women, it persists and requires treatment. This condition isn't terribly common. It occurs most often in those with type 1 diabetes or a history of thyroid conditions. But I want you to be aware of it so that you can advocate for additional tests if you are experiencing symptoms. See the Learn More section for more details. With good nutrition, sleep, and time, our hormones should begin to recalibrate and you'll start to feel more and more like yourself. However, sometimes they can remain in a state of imbalance for a prolonged period. Research shows a connection between hormone imbalance and mood and anxiety disorders. They can also leave you feeling depleted physically for many months and even years after baby. So, if you suspect a hormone imbalance, reach out to your care provider. They can run tests and get to the bottom of what may be causing your symptoms. Let's recap some of the key points. Good nutrition is critical. Your body loses a lot of nutrients during pregnancy and childbirth, so it's of utmost importance to get adequate calories and nutrition in the postpartum period in order to fuel your body and allow it to heal properly. Sleep is a necessity. Please prioritize it. In fact, if you are going to put the support available to you to just one use, please let it be to ensure that you get that 4 hour chunk of sleep nightly. Be compassionate with yourself. Your body has just undergone massive hormonal and physical changes in an extremely condensed time frame, and it all takes place alongside the added demands of caring for a new infant. Pause to recognize the immense strength of your body and marvel at all it has accomplished and overcome. You are a formidable force of nature and you are doing great. Even on the hard days when the haywire hormones and our sleep deprived brains try to convince us otherwise, You're crushing it. There is no better mom for that baby on the planet than you, and all they see is your radiance. If you have any questions, please reach out to me via email, and I'd be happy to help. Thank you.